I'm Kay Daigle of Beyond Ordinary Women Ministries, and this is the second video in a series called Organic Mentoring. Our first video was on the challenges that are faced today in having any kind of mentoring program and how to do mentoring, and this is going to be called the solutions. And to give us those solutions, we have Dr. Sue Edwards, who is the Associate Professor of Educational Ministries and Leadership at Dallas Seminary. And she has written a book called Organic Mentoring, and she is here to share her expertise with us. So Sue, as we think about what we talked about last time, the epic shift in our society, what do we do about this? How do we approach young women who think so differently and look at things so differently than older women do?
Well, one thing we have to remember is that we have different preferences with older and younger. And so we would expect that the more mature in the Lord would be able to give up preferences more easily.
That would be ideal.
That would be ideal. Yeah. So that's what we're challenging older women to do. Now, the heart of the mentoring relationship does not change. The goal does not change. What is changing is simply the way we go about doing it. So that requires a little bit more flexibility on the part of older women.
So what would that look like?
So, well, first of all, what we heard from these younger women was they wanted a more organic style. Now, I had an 80-year-old woman say to me, "What in the world does that mean? What is organic anyway?"
It's not something we really used in our younger days.
No, we didn't. Yeah. So, but what's helpful to realize is that it started, I don't know how long ago, but with food, organic food, and we have a lot of that still going on today. Moved to fitness. Also, we see younger women doing the kinds of things like if they're having a baby, going to a birthing center instead of a hospital. There's just this desire to have a more simple, more natural, organic lifestyle. Now, which is a little crazy when you think about all the technology as well, but that's their desire. So with that in mind, we have to remember that that has shifted over into their belief system and the way they want to do their relationships. So what would a more organic relationship actually look like? That's the question. When they look at the way we've traditionally done mentoring, they don't see natural, they don't see organic, they see contrived and forced. And that really repels them.
And so you're talking about where somebody from the outside comes in and says, "You're now the mentor and you're the mentee, so
yes.
You go off and you become close."
Yeah. And we used to tell them, how long they were going to meet. We had term limits, how often they needed to meet. Sometimes we gave suggestions or even told them what they needed to do. And the younger women just really push back on that. So they're asking for what we call organic scheduling, which basically means that as an older woman, I block in my calendar for this week I'm going to meet with so-and-so at such and such a time, and I'm going to do that regularly. And they're saying, no, we don't want to do that. And that's hard for some of us, and it was hard for me because I'm the typical organized. I like to organize my life and have everything just that I just am, and it's been a real shift for me. And so a lot of us older women would say, well, can it really work? Is it still valuable? But I want to say absolutely. And I have more now mentoring relationships with younger women at the seminary, in my church, but it's this way. It's very organic. So we don't schedule it for certain times. It's not a year-long program. In fact, it might go on for a couple of months if it's focused on a particular issue that young woman wants to work through with us, or it might go on for a lifetime. You never know, and they like that. that feels refreshing to them.
It's more like a real friendship in some way.
In some ways it is, although there's a definite goal that someone is ahead in the process and is pointing that young woman to the Lord. And she's sharing with her how God has interacted in her life through the years. And she would be sharing biblical principles, very likely. But this is not the place where a young woman today wants to learn the Bible in a formal way. She can get on her devices and do that. She wants somebody who will walk with her through her own struggles, her own issues. And it needs to be flexible. The focus is not on the calendar. The focus is on the quality of the relationship. Are they growing closer? And actually, all of this, they want to meet when they want to meet, when they need to meet, when they are having an issue that you could help them with. And it supports what we know. Andragogy is the study of how adults learn. And it supports that adults learn best when they have a need to learn something. I think about my daughters. I raised 2 girls, and I was just bound and determined that they would not leave my house without learning how to cook. Well, my older daughter particularly was an athlete, academics, not the slightest interest in learning how to cook. You can bring a girl to the kitchen, but you can't get her to learn to cook. Until in college, she calls home and she's engaged to her high school sweetheart, and now I can't get her out of the kitchen. When she's home, she is wanting to know, how do you do this and what is that? And she is, in a couple of months, she just soaked up anything I know about cooking. And today she's a far better cook than I am, albeit organic. So, it's just, this is a very typical way young people learn. And so it's good. We have to remember that the women that we're talking about now are growing up in a very different environment than we did. They're taking more anxiety drugs than any other generation in history. Over half of them come from broken homes. And they're living in one of the first generations to live in a post-Christian culture. So they are facing a lot of issues that we never dealt with. And they're so wanting to understand, they want us to help them process those struggles that they're dealing with at that time. And what's so beautiful about it is that when we do learn, when we do connect well, and there's that trust there, we can have an incredible influence in their life. We become an extremely important person that influences them toward the Lord. And they want multiple mentors. They aren't so interested in having just one. We always think of it as one-to-one. They're more interested in having mentors for different kinds of issues and needs that they might have. And the really good thing about this for us older women, is that if you think of mentoring as a stage play, in the past, all the spotlight has been on the mentor. She was the wise one. It was all about her, and the mentee just sat at her feet and soaked up her wisdom. Well, the problem with that is that so many of us run from mentoring as older women because we know we don't measure up to that. And actually, that's not what they want. And if we actually try to be that, it repels them. They want authenticity, and I mean I hear it's a sigh of relief from most older women.
Oh, I totally agree with that. The first woman who asked me if I would mentor her, I ran as far the other direction as I possibly could.
Yeah, and that's typical, and that's why we don't have nearly I would argue that every woman, every Christian woman is older than somebody and needs to be investing in someone who is coming up, who isn't as far as they are in their spiritual growth.
Right.
And so if we could free up and that intimidation, just blow up that wisdom myth, not that you don't have a real relationship with the Lord, but it's more of, as I said, walking with them, helping them, giving them biblical perspective, and really nurturing their relationship with Jesus.
Right.
That's what they're asking for.
Right. And that is, of course, what we all want.
Yes.
That's what we all want.
Yeah.
It's just done in a different way.
It's just done in a different way.
Structured.
Yes.
And so pre-planned.
Yes.
It's much more. And certainly I have relationships like that with younger women that I never quite know how often we're going to get together, but like you're right, when a need comes up, I hear from them, can we get together?
Yes.
I'd like to talk to you, and it's really a great blessing for me to be part of her life.
Me as well. Yes, it really blesses both of us.
Yes.
When it works well.
It really does. Well, thank you, Sue, for helping us think through how we overcome some of the challenges that are going on. But there's still more to it. So I don't want you to miss part 3, which will be about matches that click. Because the match has to work for us to have that mentoring relationship.
Exactly.
So thank you, and we will hope that you will join us for part 3. And if you didn't watch part 1, you might want to go back because Sue gives some excellent advice there as well.